Hi there, folks, and welcome to Tri-State from the Stretch. I'm your host, Andy Burdick, joined as always by Jason Ruggiero.
Good to be here.
And today we're going to be talking about managers of the year because, Jason, both of our respective clubs have won the Manager of the Year award for their managers.
Serendipitous.
Yes, very much so. It's been a very good year to have kickstarted a podcast and website about the Cleveland Indians and Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah.
So Terry Francona, the Cleveland Indians manager, was named the 2013 American League Manager of the Year, and Pittsburgh Pirates manager Clint Hurdle was named the 2013 National League Manager of the Year. So today we're going to touch on a little bit of what kind of contributed to those things and what the general chatter is, I suppose, about both of the managers. So we can kind of get a good feel for how their seasons went and why they went the way that they did. So starting off with Clint Hurdle, I guess the biggest complaint about Clint Hurdle going into the season was that he tends to bunt too much. And it drives Pirates fans nutty. You'll see them complaining every year about how much he bunts, since he's started his tenure in Pittsburgh, and this year was no different. The fans were chirping every time that he would have a position player lay down a bunt, and I guess I don't know. I didn't look up the numbers before we started recording. I know at one point throughout the course of the season he was about on pace to finish up where he finished last year with the bunting, and so you heard about the same consistent complaints from fans and statisticians alike, where they're saying, "Oh, Clint Hurdle, he's bunting too much. He's just giving away too many free outs."
Well, that's interesting because I would say that one of the most common complaints of Terry Francona is he bunts not enough.
So, that's ironic.
I think it. For whatever reason, and I mean, how you could ever determine why someone, did or didn't bunt, or whether they should have or shouldn't have, I mean, that's pretty subjective, but it often got attributed to the fact that he was, quote, used to managing the Red Sox. Like, basically, he was sitting around waiting for a 3-run home run, because I guess when you're successful with one team, people think you can't get over that, that you fell into that trap or something. So I guess he thought that Carlos Santana was David Ortiz.
And here's the other thing, too, though. I mean, he's making statistically sound decisions. I mean, you never hear the stats people coming out of the woodwork to say, oh, he's not bunting enough. You know what I mean? Like, the people that are complaining aren't the sabermetricians. Like, we could go to Ben Jedlovic and say, like, hey, would it have been valuable to bunt in this situation? And then more often than not, he's going to tell you no. You want your guys swinging away. So, I'm fine with less bunting and more. You got those guys up there to hit, get your money's worth out of them as hitters. Don't give the other team those outs like that.
Right. I mean, we could go on a whole tri-state. We could probably do a whole podcast on bunting itself. So we don't want to get bogged down on that. But, the other thing that Terry Francona got criticized for is staying with his starter too long, or staying with anyone too long, pitching-wise. That he didn't have a quick enough hook.
And you know what? There are times where Clint Hurdle was criticized for leaving the starters in too long, and he was often criticized too for overworking the bullpen at the same time. So you're getting this from like sports writers. Like, what's the guy supposed to do? You're going to complain when he's leaving starters in too long. Yet coming out of the other side of your mouth, you're going to complain when he's overworking the bullpen.
Right. Well, and that to me, the bunting thing. There are some statistical numbers and analysis to back it up, but leaving a starter in too long to me is complete Monday morning quarterbacking.
Exactly.
Like, when the guy gets out of the inning, he knew exactly what he was doing. When he doesn't get out of the inning, he left him in too long.
Right.
Just that's the way it is. So it's like, well, managers play hunches. We joke about that all the time. And so they're basically going on their hunch when they go out there. They look the guy in the eye. Do I think you can get out of it? Have I had enough of you telling me you can get out of it and you don't?
Right.
That's basically what it comes down to.
Now, I think when you're looking at the positives for Clint Hurdle was one of the most, I guess, accepting, I guess it seems like, managers for deploying defensive shifts. And I'd love to get a chance to ask Ben Jedlovic about this later on in the off season. But I can remember specific instances where the shifts worked out just perfectly. Where Neil Walker was playing rover and Matt Adams hits a rocket line drive that he can leap up and catch only because he's playing in shallow right field. And he has his pitchers pitching into the shift and his players positioned, and everybody in Pittsburgh kind of bought into it. Whereas, if you're a manager that doesn't really believe in defensive shifts and following the numbers, and, therefore your players aren't going to buy into it, then, what good is that coming from the statisticians, working for your organization saying, hey, we can shift on these guys and we can get them to hit in the shift and, we can get a lot more easy outs. So that was definitely one of the strengths of Clint Hurdle this season was the defensive shifts.
Yeah, Terry Francona isn't so much into defensive shifts. I guess, the biggest positive for him is kind of an overall thing, and that's how, he has this reputation as a player's manager. And, it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, basically it means that he's always going to support his player.
Right.
Always, always, always. He always is going to say his guys are capable, that they can do it, they can handle it, and he's basically going to take the fall for them.
Yep, and that's Hurdle's reputation as well, right on there.
Right.
He's that guy that he's going to fall on the sword for his players if it comes down to it.
Right, and so, you definitely could see, as an Indians fan, it was so obvious the difference in the demeanor and atmosphere of the team this year as compared to Manny Acta or even Eric Wedge.
Well, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned that too, because right after Tito won the Manager of the Year award, Jason Giambi tweeted out about the culture of the clubhouse and how it had completely changed with Terry Francona coming in to manage, and it was kind of neat just hearing that from the players. One of the players talking about how that culture had shifted because of Terry Francona's presence there.
Right.
Last thing I wanted to touch on with Hurdle was just his, for as unaccepting as he is, I guess understanding the value or lack thereof of a bunt, he was great about deploying those defensive shifts. And he was also, the last 2 years, he's been pretty good about platooning players and putting them in situations to succeed. Last year Garrett Jones was put in situations to succeed and he performed admirably and, had one of the best years of his career. This season he was put in those same situations and for whatever reason it didn't work out as well. But Gabby Sanchez, the other half of that platoon at first base for Pittsburgh, has, he's just been tearing up his platoon splits with the pitchers that he's facing. So Clint Hurdle again is going out there and just maximizing the potential of the players that he's running out there, which I think that's another good thing that he does. And in that same breath, you're going to hear people complaining about, well, he's still running Jose Tabata and Travis Snyder out there, but again, I guess I tend to look at it more as a glass half full instead of a glass half empty, and look more at the positive things that he's doing with the platoons.
Well, and who else is he going to run out there?
And that's exactly what I was just going to say. Who do you want him to put out there? Do you want Andrew Lambeau? Do you want a whole season of that? I guess, he's putting those guys in situations to succeed to the best of his, knowledge based on the information that he has. So,
right. I mean, he doesn't get to choose all the players in the whole organization, so.
Exactly.
He's got to deal with what they give him.
Right. Yeah. Spot on. Anything else you wanted to touch on with Terry Francona?
No, I mean, I think the same's true of Terry Francona. We saw how he used Ryan Rayburn, how he used Giambi, how he, would try to protect Drew Stubbs.
Right. Ryan Rayburn was looking like a Hall of Famer throughout the parts of this season.
Right. And, we saw how he would use Mark Reynolds, and everything actually we've said is kind of illustrated by Mark Reynolds. He protected Mark Reynolds in the beginning of the year till he got hot. Then he played him every day when he was on fire. And then for about 2 months, kept giving him chance after chance after chance to break out of the slump.
Right.
Whereas with some managers, he would have just been banished to the doghouse and probably DFA'd, a month prior to what he was.
Right.
But Francona wasn't going to give up on him. He's going to give him every chance he could to get out of it. And so I think that pretty much sums up how Tito manages.
Yeah, a great season for both Tito and Clint Hurdle. We're looking forward to next season, especially now that we have some Manager of the Year awards under their belts now. So congratulations to those two gentlemen. As always, if you want to check us out on the web, you can at www.tsmbaseball.com. You can email us, tristatebb@tsmbaseball.com. Follow us on the Twitter at tristatebb, and give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/tsmbaseball. So for Jason Ruggiero, this is Andy Burdick, and we look forward to talking to you soon.